There's one photo of Tipu Sultan, and there's another photo of Tipu Sultan with the face of Imran Khan, and it says Tweetu Sultan.
It says what?
Tweetu Sultan. For all his bravado, because he keeps talking about Tipu Sultan. या तो हम टीपू,
All I can do is tweet.
yeah, because he says कि या तो हम बहादुर शाह जफर की तरह हो सकते हैं, who gave himself to the British, finally last Mughal king, या तो हम टीपू सुल्तान बन सकते हैं. So I was like, तू टीपू सुल्तान नहीं है, तू ट्वीटू सुल्तान, तू ट्वीट ही कर सकता है और कुछ नहीं कर सकता. So now we come to the next section, which is we start thinking about what is the Pakistani perspective, the common citizen's perspective. So, because right now we discuss the whole political history of Pakistan and how sort of its politics and things got shaped over the years with the dictatorships and the assassinations and the executions and the exiles and all of that. But what do you think in the middle of all of this is the Pakistani common citizen's perspective? What do you think how they look at us and how they look at their history and everything like that?
Well, I do know by a lot of things like reading on Twitter and stuff that they think that they're really superior to us, like inherently superior to us. They think that their armed forces are way more professional than ours.
Yeah.
They think that they had the upper hand in the Balakot strikes that happened recently, and so I'm like, you can read that on the Twitter, like the tweets that come under major tweets as replies.
Yeah.
I think the people that genuinely think that if there's a war tomorrow, Pakistan would crush us. And I think most importantly regarding Kashmir, I think they genuinely think that a genocide is happening in Kashmir right now. And somehow we have sort of we have convinced the entire world to be on our side because of the economy, probably.
Yeah.
To not raise a voice around that.
And actually we're like killing people every day and killing children all the time, like just randomly, just at our own will, and like the whole world is just like suddenly turned blind.
The Prime Minister is saying that Narendra Modi is Hitler 2.0.
Yeah, Imran Khan, I think he's just lost it.
He just lost it. He lost it. I've never seen a head of a state, talk in that.
He's had this epic meltdown where he's learned like these couple of words: fascism, Nazism, Hitler, RSS, Hindutva. Like these 5-6 words he's learned, and he keeps like jumbling them about in like different tweets. I mean, I've seen him tweet more about India than about Pakistan over the last 1 month. I barely see him writing anything about Pakistan. He's on and on and on about India. I mean, I hope he knows that what's really happening on ground and this is just an act. Because if he actually believes it, that's much worse for all of us. Because then there's just something wrong with that guy's head, and then it'll be difficult for us to deal with him.
He would know the truth at his position.
Maybe the Pakistani army is giving him also a dose of that propaganda. the ISPR.
Yeah. I mean, like this is like his entire term is in danger.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Like he'll be remembered as the Prime Minister in Pakistan. At least he'll be remembered as the Prime Minister who let Kashmir slip.
Yeah. First of all, I actually don't even get like this scope of reaction for me was unimaginable. because I actually thought that they'll raise some noise and like whatever. That our main opposition will be uh, inside the country from people who don't agree with the BJP or certain people with certain views. But
Hmm.
the reaction, it's really caught a lot of people off guard, and I definitely did not think that Pakistan would come to a standstill over us changing our own. Like, I mean, I don't even claim we don't even we shouldn't even claim victory. Like, 370
Yeah.
is us. It's the beginning. Like the actual work comes, the huge chunk of the work comes after that. It's not even like we've won
Right.
some.
But
They're
like
pretending
from
like they
their
lost. Yeah,
perspective,
they're pretending like they lost like a huge chunk of their country's territory or something like that. It's really bizarre.
because for them they did.
Yeah, I think their own propaganda is sort of coming to bite them back, because
Yeah.
for all these years, this whole Pakistani army propaganda uh, about Kashmir banega Pakistan has, and the
Yeah.
amount with which they've hyped it up. Obviously, they hyped it up because it was a cash cow for them. Like we spoke another
Correct.
previous episode about the conflict industry, one of the major beneficiaries of this conflict industry uh, is the Pakistani army. They're the epitome. They're basically the personification of the military-industrial complex that was, put up by General and later President Eisenhower. Although he was
Right.
talking about the weapon economy and the industry that sort of is colluding with the military. These guys are colluding with every industry in the world. They are making conflicts, they are making cement, they are making shoes, pastas. I mean, you name it, and they're in that business. They're, I think, the third or second largest business group of Pakistan. Can you imagine a whole army is like doing like all these, like, has major shareholdings in all these businesses. Also, they make all these like real estate, corner these DHA plots and all of that. I think after every Pakistani general, when they retire, they get like a huge chunk of land, like with retirement. Can you
Yeah.
can you imagine like that in India? Like, if like,
And that is how they've sort of changed the demographics of POK, right?
yeah,
By allotting
exactly,
land to people
land
who
there.
retire.
But not just, and but they don't just do that there where population is scarce. They do it in like huge chunks of like populated places as well, like in Punjab and all these places as well. I think when General Rahil Sharif retired before Bajwa, he got a large chunk of land in Punjab, if I'm not wrong. So they get prime land after they retire and stuff like that. And yeah, their army will basically obviously do anything and everything to keep the Kashmir dream alive, because that's how they justify their whole budget. This Indian boogeyman sort of, that always tries
Hmm.
to attack us, and that's how they alternate history, because they think that Indians are the aggressor always, that India started every
Right.
war, and that we did nothing. Like, for example, the 71 war, they keep saying that India started training the Mukti Bahini and to cause discord between us and our Bengali brothers or whatever. They completely glide over the fact that they committed a genocide. That's just never part
Hmm.
of the question. So they say, even in 65, they say something like that India had nefarious designs on getting POK, and we just retaliated. They, I think, in fact, 65, they have this narrative that they wanted Lahore, which is why they started this war. But we didn't let
Hmm.
them get Lahore, and Lahore, they actually celebrate a thing called Defense Day, which is the day where they put up a defense to Lahore. So they celebrate it now, that they
Wow.
started the war by trying to conquer Kashmir, ended by having to protect Lahore, and
Hmm.
therein also lies a cause for celebration for the Pakistani army. They call it Defense Day.
Hmm.
It's hilarious. I mean, these guys are really like a bunch of jokers. What else can you say? They have kept fooling their people, kept overthrowing their governments, and in therein lies the very answer to why Pakistan is so unstable. Because no one has thought long term about the stability of the country. Everyone's just trying to uh, serve their short term interests.
It's like one of those classic comedies where one person lies and then has to keep
Yeah,
lying.
it's and that's why the this episode is called inside the mind of an international migraine, Pakistan, understanding
Hmm.
Pakistan, because it's really the mind of a pathological liar, and that really brings me uh, to the second statement that I had hinted at first about what another former Secretary of State of USA had said about Pakistan. So
Hmm.
it was Colin Powell, who was general before, and he had said, uh, "How do you know that, or when do you know that the Pakistanis are lying?" And it's when they open their mouths. So so I mean that's the amount of distrust between these people. It's not just us. Like the world knows this.
Hmm.
Or at
Yeah.
least the people who are in positions of power who deal with these countries know this. Maybe civilian to civilian contact is much different, but militaries and
Hmm.
countries, they know these things. So it's the propaganda. It's incredible. Like with the beginning of the country, like
I've seen a lot of U.S. generals say something on these lines.
yeah, yeah, because they know this whole duplicity game that Pakistan has played, especially during the war on terror. Uh,
Yeah.
because as we said earlier, like they couldn't bear with the fact, like how could they fight the people that they themselves cultivated, right? So they were like sort of,
Right.
they still are sort of back channeling, helping them around, and that's why you see currently when the Afghan peace deal is happening, or what is
Hmm.
actually the American surrender in Afghanistan is happening, they are
Hmm.
negotiating on the behalf of the Taliban. They are coaching the Taliban on how to negotiate.
Hmm.
There are viable
Hmm.
resources of information that are telling that it's the Pakistani army and the ISI that is coaching the Taliban on how to negotiate this whole deal in Afghanistan. So that's why
Hmm.
these American generals and these American colonels that you're talking about are
Hmm.
because they've been on ground. They know these guys are liars. They know the duplicity of their behavior and what they do with the money that comes in aid through America to Pakistan, which is why you see
Right.
they are so cynical about Pakistan.
Right.
And the ISPR is another thing I really wanted to talk about. Major General
Yeah.
Asif Ghafoor. Uh, I what are your views on about that guy?
I follow him on Twitter,
Mhm.
and what do I say? I think the biggest mismatch between holding a position and the kind of content that comes out of that account.
Yeah. Uh,
Like if I didn't tell you this guy was a what is
he's a
he?
major
He's a
general.
major general,
Yeah.
right? He's a major general, the head of the PR department of the Pakistani army. If I didn't tell you, you would believe this is some guy
Like a
from
he's
some
like a
tier two
conspiracy
city,
theorist,
conspiracy
like a Zaid
theorist
Ahmed.
who doesn't know how to write English but will use fancy words.
Yeah. He's like
Like I've read some tweets that make no sense at all.
and they don't just make no sense
Official
because the
tweets.
grammar is bad. They don't
The
make
grammar is bad.
no no
Exactly. That's what
no
I'm
no. They
saying.
don't just not make sense because the grammar is bad. They also
Yeah,
don't
even the content.
the
Yeah,
words don't make sense because
that's what I'm saying. Like you read them, it makes
it's
no
it's
sense. And these are official tweets
yeah
of
it's like that
the
Friends
ISPR.
episode where Joey, he's got a new computer, and if you right click on a word, you get like a more profound fancy word for the same word, like an inbuilt thesaurus.
Mm-hmm.
And so he
Okay,
uses like all the words that he can on
all
every
the
word.
fancy
Yeah, on
words.
every word he uses a thesaurus. So
That's
so instead of
that's what he
that's what he does,
does.
because instead of like a heart, it will say something like or like some blood pumping organ, like something like that. Like that.
Hmm.
That is his
Yeah,
level of English. Like he will never pick. He's like Shashi Tharoor on cocaine. So when you use
yeah.
that many fancy words that do not actually really fit together, it just sounds so incredibly.
I
It's the
mean,
mix
I
of
think I
how
think Pakistanis in general have Pakistani politicians in general have an issue with Twitter. Like Rahman Malik recently tagged the Uno cards
yeah
instead of UNO.
yeah
And he
Oh,
didn't even like redact it. He didn't delete the tweet. He didn't like post an apology, correction, nothing.
it's brilliant. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's damn entertaining.
It is.
Ghafoor is really.
Gafur is.
People have people. I saw this particular tweet where somebody had DM'd
Oh
Ghafoor
yeah,
saying
I
that I
saw
have
that too.
pictures of
I of
atrocities
yeah.
happening in Kashmir.
No. It was about a bunch of people are being mistreated by the Indian army, and
Oh
yeah,
yes, 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 yes,
and
yes.
like, can I send you the photos? And he was like, yeah, and I'll put that up on the
Yeah, Ghafoor
screen.
was like, please send brother.
Yeah, and he sent he was sent photos of the 1971 surrender.
And then he got blocked.
Then the person got blocked for obvious reasons. But that
Hilarious.
ISPR is actually very fascinating, very intriguing because
Hmm.
that's basically the starting point for all the Twitter bots that you see coming from Pakistan, all the fake Indian IDs. So they actually hire civilians to do this.
Fake Indian IDs.
Yeah, fake Indian IDs. So they'll make IDs in the name of Indians, and
Hmm.
basically those Indians will be talking crap about India and talking pro
Hmm.
Pakistan. So the dead giveaway is
Hmm.
that their grammar is horrible. If the ideology is not a giveaway, the dead giveaway is that
Right.
horrible. But the hilarious thing is that they actually hire civilians to do this. I saw this one ad from some Pakistani women's college where they said that we need a ISPR is looking for digital interns, females only. It's basically inviting women to basically learn how to honey. Those are the girls who honey trap people and stuff like that. They actually
Hmm.
put out ads to hire those kind of people, and they often release these photos of the interns, and they're all civilians with
Hmm.
Asif Ghafoor and sometimes General Bajwa, the chief of army staff. And I
Hmm.
mean, what else are those guys doing there? They're the bots. They're the one running those fake multiple fake IDs. Uh, and they call it fifth generation warfare. And they're like actually they're mighty proud of this whole bot culture and that they're able to do these whole psyops and I mean that's I would say that's one of those places where they have an upper hand on us because we really I mean I don't think we care enough to I don't think Indian Army really cares enough to make Twitter bots like attack have like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
troll Pakistani Twitter handles and all of that. I mean, how much time and money do these guys have on their hands? It's
A lot.
I think it's a whole country based on denial
They
and
have
it's a whole country based on
they have the entire
propaganda.
budget.
Yeah, and these lies start from the very creation of Pakistan because they think that this Pakistan was created when Muhammad bin Qasim came first into India. That is when the seeds of Pakistan were sown when the first Islamic invasions happened, and that all these Muslim rulers, the Mughals, the Tughlaqs, the Aurangzebs, and all of these people, they're all their
Hmm.
part of their history. Like we consider them part of
Right.
Indian history, they consider them part of their history and that's
Their history.
which also makes sense when you think about these things that they think that all this Lal Killa, Taj Mahal, these belong to them. And this is not a fringe view, by the way, because I have seen this film. I don't know if you've seen Khuda Ke Liye, the Pakistani film.
No, I
So
haven't. It has Nasruddin Shah. I know
yeah,
that.
I saw it when I was 14, and I was really surprised because that time I had no exposure to
It's
Pakistan.
14.
Yeah, I was 14 and I saw that film, and basically in
Wow.
that film, one of the characters is abroad in America studying in a university, and he's talking to this girl, and he's
Hmm.
explaining where Pakistan is because she doesn't know. She's like, I know India, so he's
So
explaining.
she's
Yeah,
American.
there comes our weekly, every episode one Americans are ignorant joke, but
Look at Bernie Sanders.
Uh, that's for our next Kashmir episode, definitely. Whenever we do that, but yeah. So basically, how he's explaining to her is that he says, "You know the Taj Mahal." So she's like, "Yeah, I know the Taj Mahal." So this guy's like, "Well, our people built it," and I was just like,
Hmm.
"No, Shah Jahan built it. Shah Jahan built it in India. He was an Indian." But for these guys, these all people are Pakistani. They're part of their heritage and not ours. So they literally tell people that in a movie, this is I'm talking about like a famous Pakistani actor is part of his dialogues.
And this is a Pakistani movie.
Yeah, it is a Pakistani movie, and a famous part of it is him saying to a foreigner that the Taj Mahal, my people built it. I was as a 14-year-old, it really was a wave of shock to me to even be able to think that these people think that way. But that sort of gives you a wholesome idea of why Ghazwa in Hind is such an integral part of Pakistan and why it's so important to them. Because they believe that the destiny is to come and reclaim what is their own heritage, to reclaim,
Right. They must be feeling they've lost it.
they've lost it. Yeah, that India needs to be an Islamic country basically for them. I think one of the things I wanted to mention was in Sacred Games, there is one scene where they're talking about Raja Dahir in Sindh and Muhammad bin Qasim. It's in a flashback, I think, with Ranveer Shore who plays Shahid Khan. And if you remember,
Yeah.
and if you remember, I'd made you listen to that song, which was their version of "आओ बच्चों तुम्हें दिखाएं झांकी हिंदुस्तान की," which is "आओ बच्चों सैर कराए तुमको पाकिस्तान की," na 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 na. And in that they say that जब मोहम्मद बिन कासिम आया था यहाँ पे जालिम दाहिर का टोला था
Yeah.
और यहीं आकर
Who wrote this song? Was it Allama Iqbal?
I don't know who wrote it, but the idea was
Why do they have the same like tune always?
no, it's not the same dude, but whatever. You mean the copy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I have no idea. But
Okay.
he's basically saying that यहीं पहुंचकर मोहम्मद बिन कासिम अल्लाह अकबर बोला था जालिम दाहिर का टोला था and basically they're saying that Raja Dahir was the last Hindu king of Sindh was the cruel person and there people also say that before Mohammed bin Qasim came यहाँ तो जहालत थी which means there was complete uncivilized people were living here. So Raja Dahir was should be the king of this, who should be the inspiration, the hero of the Sindhis, who took a stand to protect Sindh against the foreign invader, Muhammad bin Qasim. He's actually been relegated in Pakistan and in Sindh particularly as a cruel person. Son of the soil is a cruel person, and the foreign invader is to be celebrated. And that is why you see all their missiles and weapons and all,
Yeah.
they are all named after invaders. Ghori,
Right.
Abdali. I mean, imagine these same people came, killed your ancestors, converted you, and you are naming those same weapons to destroy another country in that person's name. And Imran Khan keeps saying Tipu Sultan, Tipu Sultan. Arre, what is there with you and Tipu? Tipu Sultan used to rule Mysore. Where is Mysore and where is Pakistan geographically? Like, I mean, get a grip on yourself. But at least that has given birth to this hilarious meme where there is one photo of Tipu Sultan and there's another photo of Tipu Sultan with the face of Imran Khan and it says Tuitu Sultan.
It says what?
Tuitu Sultan. For all his bravado. Because he keeps talking about Tipu Sultan. या तो हम Tipu.
All you can do is tweet.
Yeah, because he says कि या तो हम बहादुर शाह जफर की तरह हो सकते हैं who gave himself to the British finally last Mughal king या तो हम टीपू सुल्तान बन सकते हैं. So I was like तो टीपू सुल्तान नहीं है तू ट्वीटू सुल्तान तू ट्वीट ही कर सकता है और कुछ नहीं कर सकता. So I'll definitely put that meme up on the screen. But yeah, this is the sort of propaganda that they are constantly surrounded by. It's quite incredible, and no wonder it shapes their thinking like this. That this anti-India feeling, because for them, Indians are these crafty, sort of people who are need to be subjugated and who sort of took political power from us and all that sort of stuff. So
What is like the partition history that they study?
they celebrate it.
Because we have the opinion that
They celebrate it.
Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
They celebrate it. That they say that if we had lived in minority in India, we would have been completely subjugated. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah actually छीन के पाकिस्तान ले लिया उन्होंने हमारे लिए. So they celebrated that हमने देखा कैसे छीन के बना दिया अपना देश. तुम लोगों से छीन के बनाया. So they actually I think the people who actually suffered in partition must obviously see it with a lens of grief. But newer generations are like a generations like ours, there who have no
Mm.
remembrance of this suffering and all of that. They really, they see it in a celebratory. They don't even know the notion of what a united India was. So I mean, it was one of these hilarious things. I saw this interview where this girl was asked, "What do you think about India?" And she said, "India हमसाया मुल्क है," which means neighbor मुल्क. हमसाया मुल्क है हमारा और पहले पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा ही हुआ करता था. I was like, पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा हुआ
Right.
करता. So you know how deeply ingrained this stuff is.
Mm.
That वो पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा हुआ करता था इंडिया. So
Right.
yeah, that's the kind of mentality, that's the kind of ideology you're sort of dealing with.
Mm.
So,
I see.
so is there anything more that you would like to say about this before we move ahead?
In terms of propaganda,
Hmm.
not really. Like it's just very very amusing to me actually. That in today's day and age there can be disputes about you know the series of events that have happened so far, and like it's very fascinating to me. Just purely not nothing to do with Pakistan specifically, but like how people have completely different truths. Like even if you look at North Korea and the people of North Korea,
Hmm.
how I don't know how brainwashed they are. Like
Hmm.
you hear of all these extremities where they think that Kim Jong Un has superpowers and stuff, but like people are living in like they have a completely different idea of what the world is like,
Exactly.
what history is like,
Exactly.
and how do you even fight something like this
Yeah.
that is so ingrained and like the arguments that we are making against him, they could be having like there could be a Pakistani version of this podcast and they would be making the same arguments against us, how we have been brainwashed by our country into believing that a certain set of events happened. Like I'm sure
They
like you
can
obviously
argue, but it will make no sense. That I know.
like isn't there like you know forget India and Pakistani media, but isn't there like international media coverage of these like wars that we have had with them
There is.
that conclusively say? I
They
mean,
do.
yeah, it's one of the funniest things that I never realized, which you told me, was that how can you think that you won the 71 war when the nation broke down into two?
So 71 is a really toughie for them. But I've heard at least some people say that we never stood a chance because it was a civil war. So basically, it was a fight between brothers, and you guys came in and took advantage. So that's
Brothers.
yeah. So it fits in with the crafty Indian or crafty Hindu sort of narrative for them that you
Who thinks Hindus are crafty?
Pakistani. There are those stereotypes, right? Oh, these guys are like these businessmen, like
Hmm.
crafty, like those Jewish stereotypes that were there in Hitler's era. That these people are greedy, sort of crafty
Hmm.
people, all that. So that's the same thing.
Right.
They view us as these crafty, slimy people, and we are the warriors and the big-hearted, like dil wale log, and these guys are they go behind our backs and do everything. That sort of basically. I mean, yeah,
Hmm. I see.
yeah. So that
Yeah, I think that's it. Like basically, like it's a like the deeper you get into the propaganda, the more absurd and weird it gets,
yeah,
and like after a point, it's just unbelievable.
it is, it is.
But yeah, I think one of the things that we should like talk about before this, I don't know, like is basically like their mindset
Hmm.
in terms of like the mindset that comes from the centricity of religion in their nation and culture.
Yeah, it's incredible. Religion sort of plays a really large role in Pakistan. It's very, very center.
Hmm.
It's center. It's so central that it's almost oblivious. It's almost
So
invisible.
it's the basis of the country.
Yeah, it's almost invisible, sort of. That they don't even
Hmm.
consciously think of it anymore. That they're invoking religion here.
Yeah.
That we are invoking religion. You know how in India, if we are invoking religion into something, we
Right.
think about it so much. There, it's invisible.
Yeah.
It's almost like a given that this is going to have a religious overtone or an undertone. Because I was
Hmm.
watching the address of Imran Khan's address to the nation recently on
Hmm.
this whole
Hmm.
Article 370 thing. And
Hmm.
before the address, there was like a Muslim cleric who came and he like did. like some verses and all of that, and then the address started. So I mean, that's how ingrained that is. Like, imagine like a pandit coming and doing mantras before Narendra Modi is going to announce demonetization. you know, it's
People would just go crazy in
yeah,
India.
and it's so central there. Actually, the belief that it was incredible. A lot of them are today telling the whenever they give interviews, they say that India is losing its secular characteristics. That India should maintain its secularity. They are telling us, them being an
Hmm.
Islamic country. So for them, it
Yeah.
is like such a given that we are an Islamic country. It doesn't matter. Why are you becoming a Hindu country? You have to remain secular. Ideally, see, we all believe in a secular country, but ideally, if there is a Hindu India, it is a mere reflection of a Muslim Pakistan, right? I don't know why they should be so perturbed about it. That India is losing
They
its.
shouldn't be. We
We
should be.
should be. They shouldn't be. But
Yeah.
so easily they're like so perturbed about it that India is losing its
Yeah.
secular characteristic. Imran Khan is like, oh, in Nehru and Gandhi's India is dying. Like, why do you care? You didn't believe in Nehru and Gandhi's India. You didn't like it. You hated it. That's why you
Yeah.
created a separate
Yeah.
country. So, as
Agreed.
I said, these pathological liars can lie till whenever you dare them to. So
Yeah.
they can justify anything, and
Right.
that's sort of how it goes with Imran Khan and the Pakistani population. That there's just so
Yeah.
many delusions. It's really difficult for us to go through all of them and try to make sense of most of them, even though we've tried to do
Yeah.
with a lot of it. But
Yeah.
it's a country without an identity. It's an artificial country. It's a country without their only identity is that they were Muslims of the subcontinent who did not want to live. They're not India. Is their only big
Yeah.
identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a confused country. It's trying to be Arabic. Arabs don't accept them.
Hmm.
They don't
Hmm.
want to be Indians because that's what the whole
Yeah.
basis of the country was. So they're really a society in a na idhar ka na udhar ka sort of a thing. They really
Hmm.
don't know. It's an identity crisis, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, should we move on
Right.
to the next segment?
Yep.